It's not surprising that with all the talk about female empowerment, feminists really love to take down the jobs of women who already exist because these feminists really hate to do those jobs or those jobs are simply not progressive. Enter the F1 grid girls drama. So the basic story is we have these F1 grid girls. If you don't know what they are, they're basically those girls that appear in your typical F1 races wearing shirts that show the brands of the sponsors of the team. They remind me of the Need for Speed girls, except instead of telling you about how to play the game and drive safely, they wear sponsored clothes for advertisements on different brands. So what happened with these grid girls? Well, F1 decided to fire them. That's right, female empowerment, except when it empowered the women in a way that we personally find disgusting. Here's the official reason for it. Oh, before we go to that, huge thanks to Sakari for the donation, you are fantastic. Very late shoutout to Chaos Ephriel, but not so late shoutouts to Mado Keiko and James D for the pledges on Patreon. You guys are fantastic.
While the practice of employing grid girls have been a staple of Formula 1 Grand Prix for decades, we feel this custom does not resonate with our brand values and clearly is at odds with modern-day societal norms. We don't believe the practice is appropriate or relevant to Formula 1 and its fans, old and new, across the world.
And by at odds with modern-day societal norms, we mean at odds with the opinions of modern feminists. So congratulations, F1, you have created tons and tons of women who are now practically jobless all because a bunch of feminists are pissed off at you. The thing is, when these feminists are confronted with the fact that women are losing jobs, they're going to ignore any forms of discussions and just double down. Let's check out some of the juiciest tweets, shall we?
So, the inevitable has happened. F1 grid girls have been banned. Ridiculous that women who say they are fighting for women's rights are saying what others should and shouldn't do, stopping us from doing a job we love and are proud to do. PC has gone mad.
That was a tweet from Rebecca Cooper, who was a grid girl. And if you want to check out an interesting video, here's one from Rebecca Jackson, who is a professional racing driver. While I am just some random guy on the internet, she has a lot more knowledge and insight on the entire thing. So go check out the video, link in the bottom, highly recommend you to watch it.
The idea that women are being objectified is also a ridiculous notion because, okay, people like looking at them, men like looking at them, some of the girls, actually a lot of the girls like looking at them. People like beautiful people, whether they are male or female. And the women that are doing it do not feel objectified. If they didn't want to do it, they wouldn't do it. That's the whole point. That's the whole point of having choice.
As for the last tweet, well, here's a response.
Really don't want my daughter growing up in a world where scantily clad women are draped around men's sports like sexual furniture. Maybe then she'll want to drive the car and not stand in front of it. Scantily clad outfits have long gone from F1. 1 year we were told we looked like bankers due to our reserved dress codes. So it's a halter neck dress and not high heels in a bikini. You're still being objectified for male sport, as if a woman's role is to celebrate and adorn male achievement. No, I'll be telling my daughter to aim for the moon and not the front of some twerp's car.
So there's a conversation for you, and let's unpack this one by one because this is quite an interesting mindset. 1. You don't want your daughter to grow up in a world where scantily clad women are draped around men's sports like sexual furniture. Well, unfortunately, not only you are in one, but there are tons of women that are treated much worse than these grid girls, like being inside Hollywood, working with Vice, or making pop music. So I think the best course of action here is to leave these grid girls alone and stay on teaching your daughter about life. Complaining about the grid girls will only make you to be less responsible for your daughter because you leave the responsibilities of her future to the presence of grid girls instead of your own guidance. 2. Women have been drivers before and nobody complained back then. 3. A woman's role is to celebrate and adorn male achievement? The only person who is that single-minded are the freaking feminists, especially the male ones who think they're so entitled for those pussies any action is pretty much fair game to them, like tricking them into shooting a porn video. Nobody thinks that these grid girls have zero humanity. They don't have too much of an important role in F1 other than looking good and wearing sponsored shirts, but that doesn't mean that they're not human beings. You are the one who thinks that way, and you preemptively think that other people think the same way that you do just so that you can control what everyone thinks. You also want to really look at these women. They look pretty happy and cheerful for jobs that objectify them. You seriously need to leave these women alone. Best of wishes to your daughter. I hope she has a successful life in the future, but unfortunately, your daughter's future is not everyone's concerns. It is your concern. So you deal with it and stop hampering on other people's fun. And also career, for God's sake. 4. Just because I don't want to work at McDonald's doesn't mean that the job shouldn't exist entirely. Just because I don't want to work as a prostitute doesn't mean that the job shouldn't exist entirely. Just because you don't want your daughter to work as a grid girl doesn't mean that the job shouldn't exist entirely. You can just forget about that part of racing, just focus on the fact that you can be drivers. And of course, there are women who love to be these grid girls. There are probably some who love to be plumbers or do carpeting jobs. There are probably some who are into mechanics, machinery, and they love to fix stuff. At least my girl Fuka certainly is.
Ban? Surely just made obsolete, and rightly so. A triumph for feminism and women in society. Women are not the enemy. Progress is not a bad thing.
I don't know what kind of indoctrination that they give out there in universities, but I am very sure that the world never thinks for 1 second that women are the enemy. I'm starting to really hate the word progress because anyone can label anything as progress, like my plan to nuke Silicon Valley. That's what I call progress.
Hey, sugar tits, not celebrating women losing their jobs. Feel bad for the individuals actually, but I am happy about F1 taking a step forward. Don't worry your pretty little head about it, it's complicated.
That's like saying, hey, we're not celebrating the gassing of Jews. I feel bad for the individuals actually, but I am happy that the Fuhrer has made a progress in the science of accelerated genocide. Don't worry your pretty little head about it. It's complicated.
Time this nonsense was dropped and good riddance. F1 grid girls near naked in bikinis have no place in 2018 and hashtag me too. Sad to see men and women bemoaning the demise and some sort of attack on sexuality or some claptrap like that.
It's less of an attack in sexuality and more of an attack to jobs that women already have. Also an attack to feminism.
1. F1 grid girls do not wear bikinis. 2. We are there to advertise teams and sponsors, so we have a purpose. 3. Women depend on this income. Why should we lose our jobs because somebody has got their knickers in a twist? You deserve Ebola.
Wow, what do you say after that one? Brutal, savage, wrecked, absolutely taken down.
No need for that, I understand that, but there are other jobs that you can do. A nurse, a teacher, a veterinarian, a TV presenter. If you apply yourself, I'm sure you could do anything.
Yes, I know we fired you off of our jobs and revoking your ability to get a steady income to feed your family, all because our feelings are hurt and feminism for the win, but I'm sure you can find a good job somewhere that paid significantly less that doesn't offend me. So that picture that I use as an example to highlight about grid girls, that was posted by Mimi Griffin. This is literally the first reply.
It's part of a bigger picture of eradicating women from being held up as things to be paraded and ogled at, and that world is one I would rather my children grew up in. I'm sorry for you and your job, but I'm not sorry that the world would be better when this type of job doesn't exist.
I am sorry for you and your job, but I'm not sorry for you and your job. We're dealing with some intellectual powerhouses here, guys, constructing arguments that would make you repeatedly head bump your desk. Other grid girls have responded to this entire thing with absolute contempt. Here's one from Lucy Stokes who said that she loves her job, she's respected, it paid well, and she's proud to represent the team that she's working for. It's not right for anyone, let alone feminists, to judge her job. More and more grid girls are starting to speak out under the grid girl hashtag. One even posted out the feminist hypocrisy. But in my opinion, one of the most entertaining responses out of all of this grid girl debacle is from none other than an article from MissMotorsport.net.
I can't believe Formula 1 got rid of grid girls.
Oh damn, look at those scantily clad women shoving their asses to people's face. How horrible. Kids should have done more productive things like sharing nudes on Instagram because Kim Kardashian loves to do it. No, seriously, there are some kids who do that. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Hallelujah! Grid girls would drop off the grid of the 2018 season.
Hallelujah! Tons and tons of women are losing jobs.
Let me preface this blog post by saying, if you believe that in 2018 women dress in goodness know what in front of cars for no specific reason is a must-have in Formula 1, you can leave this blog post right now.
Oh no, lady. I want you to make me.
It turns out that a lot of people may have just clicked off my blog because as of 21:45 on January 31st, according to Sky F1's poll, 52% of the 35,935 people that had voted believe F1 made the wrong decision in dropping them.
Oh no! More than half of people disagree with my opinion!
There's a name for you ladies, but it isn't used in high society, outside of a kennel.
Now you are entitled to your opinion, but Really? Are scantily clad women such an integral part of Formula One? I don't think so, and here's why F1 made the correct decision in dropping them.
I am on the edge of my seat and listening. Go on.
Let's start with the statement Son Bratches, managing director of commercial operations at Formula One, said. While the practice of employing grid girls has been a staple of Formula One
She's
Grand Prix for
basically reading the statement that I've read last time, and my response is still the same. It's not really at odds with any modern-day societal norms, it's just at odds with the opinions of modern feminists.
Modern-day societal norms. What a beautiful thing to hear in Formula One. It seemed that finally a sport so rich in history has begun to align itself with the present, and he's right.
Because what he said conforms to my distorted, confusing, hypocritical worldview that I adopt as my own because I have personal issues about insecurity. No, I'm not kidding. We'll get to that.
Grid girls first graced the grid decades ago, when women were constantly judged in appearance, when they didn't have as much of a voice, a time where nobody batted an eye when women were objectified.
So you're saying that people back then don't care about the sexy women in F1 and only care about the racing? Wow, people back then are pretty freaking progressive without the needs of these feminists telling them that they're problematic or misogynistic. Gotta give props to them.
In fact, I'd go as far as to say that grid girls are the epitome of objectification. It was 2014 where I first realized how real this problem truly was. I was walking in the grid at the final race of the 2014 BTCC, and next to me were two, I'd say, middle-aged men. What I overheard has sat me ever since that day. At 17 years old, I had lived anything but a sheltered life, but what I heard still shocked me. We were stood to the side of Jackoff's car with his grid girl directly parallel to us, and one of the men turned to the other and said, "Look at her. I'd bang her."
Oh no! Men made comments about wanting to bang a girl.
Welcome to Earth.
Then they went on to talk about other girls and how some of them were too fat to be grid girls, which they weren't.
Oh no! Men made comments about girls in general.
If I'm being real, that was hard to hear. At 17, I was becoming a young woman. I was judging myself, and all those grid girls were smaller than me, but they were too fat.
Jesus Christ. Talk about being insecure. Now, if you're a teenager, I would understand why you have these feelings because I certainly am insecure back in the days, but right now, you're an adult and you show no signs of progress from your insecurity when you were 17. So the best way for me to respond to this is to throw clips of insults.
I think she's right. You are retarded.
Which brings me to my next point. Formula One is trying to attract a younger audience, both male and female. If you are putting women with tiny waists who are sometimes half-dressed and display all to see, what does that say about the type of women in Formula One?
It says that there are women who are grid girls? What's your point here? What is your problem other than your own personal insecurities? Why is it that every single time feminists talk about their problems, they always bring up their own personal insecurities as a justification? It happened in my last video and it happened here again. Looks like feminism as an insecurity issue, or if I may, growing up issues.
There are so many women in F1, but they are behind the scenes, bevering away, working their socks off. Yet what young girls see is an archaic tradition, one that represents a time where only women in F1 were grid girls. If I were to have a daughter, I wouldn't want her seeing that.
Here's a tip to your daughter, lady. Google search female racers. Done. Get some inspiration from them. I have no idea who are giving you these weird ideas that women can't be racers. Maybe you should consult your universities in why they're constantly feeding this sort of nonsense in your head. And by consult, I mean freaking nuke it as soon as possible.
Not to say that there's anything wrong with having a tiny waist. Lord knows I run, do sit-ups, and all that stuff to obtain a small waist. But I don't want that to be what represents women in this male-dominated sport.
So you don't want women who are good looking to be represented in a male-dominated sport? I think you have more troubling arguments to address other than your complaints about tiny waists.
I also understand that there are women out there who are grid girls and love their jobs, and to you I say, I don't want to take away your job. I want to put an end to what your job has stood for.
That's like telling an ice cream seller, oh, I don't want to take away your job. I want to put an end to children eating ice creams.
I've seen tweets saying this is feminism gone mad and feminism is taking jobs away from women. To those tweeting that, I invite you to read the Oxford Dictionary definition of feminism because if anything, feminism would want to bring back those grid boys from Monaco.
And the first step to accomplish this dictionary definition of feminism is to empower women by firing them off of their jobs? also, you can't just bring back grid boys while obliterating grid girls and then say that you do it for equality. It's like that scene from Spongebob.
This is my candy bar.
Liar, liar, plants for hire.
It's pants on fire, Patrick.
Well, you would know. Liar.
Don't be mad at women for the end of grid girls. That makes no sense. There are women who are for and against grid girls. There are men who are for and against grid girls. Everyone has their opinion and their reasons. Personally, I think it's time that women in F1 were known for more than just standing in front of a car or handing a driver their cap.
And women already did. You just conveniently forget about them because every feminist has to have the memory of Dory from Finding Nemo in order for their narrative to work.
Another reason that getting rid of grid girls was the correct decision to put an end to articles like this. Your sexiest grid girl for November 2013 revealed. People voted on the sexiest grid girl for each month, and yes, this is from 2013, which I appreciate is 5 years ago, but it happened. That is on the internet.
Ah, yes, articles like that is an abomination of mankind, but Cosmopolitan writing about the bulges of men in Olympics that deserve gold, that is absolutely fine. In fact, objectifying men in general is perfectly fine.
Formula 1 was held back by a man who said women should wear white like a domestic appliance and they shouldn't be allowed out. You don't take the washing machine out of the house, do you?
Who the hell says that? What makes you believe that people say that? What's the name of the university so that I can nuke it from orbit?
And to those 52% of voters that Sky F1 poll, I ask you this. What do you go to football matches to watch? What do you go to rugby matches to watch? What do you go to Grand Prix weekend to watch? Your answer should be football, rugby, racing. If that is the case, why are you so upset that grid girls are leaving the sport? If anything, you should be rejoicing. Formula 1 is becoming wholly about racing, none of that pomp and ceremony.
You never watch F1, do you? I don't watch F1, and I know that people are celebrating like mad after the match. None of that pomp and ceremony? Please. Also, while you're comparing this to football, are you gonna take away the jobs of cheerleaders?
You should be proud that you support a sport that is taking a step to respect women, that is taking a step to readdress the balance, that is taking a step to empower young girls who dream of a role in Formula 1.
You should be proud that you support a sport that is taking a step to respect women by firing women. I'm trying to comprehend the logic of all these feminists, but I would honestly spend much better time reenacting the scenes from Euphoria again.